It's time to get it off your shoulders.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back. My name's Natasha and this is Behavior Breakdowns. Today we are taking a look at the body language and behavior of Kendra Licari. Now, if you don't know who Kendra is, she is at the center of a new Netflix documentary called Unknown Number: The High School Catfish. There's going to be some spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen the documentary yet and you want to go check it out, please go do so and come back to this video at a later time. Otherwise, you have been warned, there is going to be spoilers. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the body language and behavior of a psychopath. Now, what makes Kendra a psychopath is that she shows a lack of empathy, she has no remorse for her actions, there is zero accountability, there's severity softening, there's distancing language, and there is a lack of understanding of the impact of her choices. So we're going to get into that a little bit later on, but let's take a look at some body cam footage from the documentary. Now, I want to give some context for the people that haven't seen the documentary or don't plan on watching it. It centers around a young couple, Lauren and Owen, and they are a couple at a school in Michigan, a very small town, very small school, and essentially both of them start receiving text messages from an unknown number. These text messages are harassing the young couple, asking them to break up, and over time the messages get more and more severe, they get more aggressive. Lauren and her partner Owen are trying to figure out who might be behind the messages. They obviously assume that it's another student. The parents get involved. Everyone is trying to figure out where these messages are coming from. Even when they block the number, they'll start receiving the same types of messages from a new unknown number. The investigation proceeds. Eventually it goes to the FBI, and the FBI actually traces the unknown number back to Lauren's mom, Kendra. So Kendra Licari was harassing her own daughter and her daughter's boyfriend, Owen. The messages were dark, they were sexually explicit, and they contained really harmful and hurtful things that a mother should never say to their child. Eventually, Kendra ended up getting charged. Now, she was charged and pleaded guilty to stalking a minor. She was sentenced to, I think, 2 years in prison. She ended up only serving 1 before she was released. We're going to be taking a look at the body cam footage from the officers who show up ready to confront Kendra with the information that they know she is behind the unknown numbers.
When we were doing the investigation and the FBI got involved, we come up with some stuff that comes back to you.
What do you mean?
The messages coming and originating from you.
No.
So when the officer confronts Kendra with the information that they have traced the numbers back to her, we see surprise come across her face, her eyes widen, and she kind of jolts back in her seat a little bit. So if Kendra was innocent, we would expect to see anger on her face because she would be confronted with this idea that she was involved when really she had no involvement at all. If you were a innocent person and you had been accused of this crime, you would show anger. You would say to the police officer, no, you've got this wrong. Now, maybe the surprise comes around the fact that she has been caught and she wasn't expecting to be caught. So we see that surprise happen.
I mean, something serious, because it went on for a while, right?
Yeah, and it didn't start that way.
And I'm sure it didn't.
I don't even know.
It's okay, just start from the beginning. So they were dating, and then they broke up. So how did it really start? Like, why did it start after? Did it start during when they were still dating?
It did.
We also see Kendra start to turn a bit childlike here in that pre-confession. Her shoulders come in, her hands are in her lap. It's almost a very childlike position. It's making herself very small. This is a guilty person who has been caught and they have nowhere to go. There's nowhere for them to run to. This is, I've got caught with my hand in the cookie jar and now I have have to confront the authorities on this. We also see Kendra breathing more from the chest. So when we start to see the chest rising and falling like that, that usually indicates some stress. When people are comfortable, they breathe from the abdomen, but when they are feeling heart palpitations or they're getting anxious, we start to see that chest rising and falling a bit quicker.
But the first ones didn't start like with me.
Okay.
I will say that. Those ones were like random or whatever.
So somebody else started those, you don't know?
But then I like fed off of it some.
Now, one of the other things I want to call out is that severity softening. Severity softening comes when people are trying to take away some of that explicit and severe detail around their crime. Instead of kill, they might say hurt. And we see that with Kendra when she starts to say, well, the first one didn't start with me.
First ones didn't start like with me.
So she's already changing course. She's already saying, well, I'm not responsible for that first one. I don't claim responsibility for that. That one didn't start with me. And it's severity softening with the entirety of the text messages. Now, if you've seen the documentary, you know how explicit those text messages were. So it's interesting that she chooses that to latch onto. She has nowhere else to go. So she says, the first ones didn't start with me. In the greater picture, the first text messages were actually probably the least severe of them all compared to where they ended up towards the end. So she latches on to, well, the first ones weren't me. We don't even know if that's true or not. Likely it's not true. The first ones were probably her as well, but she finds something to latch onto to kind of soften the severity of her actions.
You guys have been under a lot of stress lately, some moves going on, some financial issues and everything else going on. Mom got wrapped up into some stuff and she didn't start it, but continued it. So we found some evidence and we have a search warrant. We're going to take her phone and stuff. Sometimes when we're not thinking straight, we do some things that aren't right.
Now we have Lauren, Kendra's daughter, entering the conversation, and we see Kendra looking visibly distraught. Now she is finding ways to make herself smaller. Her hand is resting on her head here. She looks visibly upset. However, we don't see any sadness. We don't see any anger. We see her looking stressed for sure. She's not showing any signs of empathy or remorse for the situation at this point.
It is some public information, so it's not going to not get out. I just want to be honest about it, all right? She said you had no idea what was going on, and I believe that.
So we see Kendra get up and move towards her daughter. Now she puts her hand over her daughter's head and kind of cloaks herself around her daughter as if to protect her. This just looks like posturing. This is the same woman that was sending horrific text messages to her daughter advocating for her own self-harm. There's been some speculation that Kendra might suffer from Munchausen's by proxy or Munchausen's by variant, which is when the parent of a child will sometimes act in a way to make the child sick or act in a way that harms the child so that the parent can step in as the hero and essentially evoke a lot of sympathy and empathy for themselves in the process.
What has to happen now is I have to make sure you and your mom are safe before I leave. So I'd like you to call your dad so maybe he can come home and meet with us, okay? Hey, Sean?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Sheriff Mike Main. I'm with Lauren and Kendra. Hey, do you have a minute to chat?
One of the reasons why I don't think that Lauren fully realized the extent of what was happening in that situation is because we don't see any real changes in her body language. We don't see surprise on her face. We don't see anger. We don't see sadness. We just kind of see her processing the information, and I think that she probably was in a bit of shock, understandably so, but it seems like she's just not fully aware of the extent of the situation until a little bit later when we see her body language start to change. Now, when Kendra gets up to go hold her daughter. I am surprised that the officer didn't ask her to potentially remain seated or, remain a little bit further away from her daughter. This is not for Lauren's comfort, this is for Kendra's comfort. And that's where I do think that the officer could have stepped in to say, like, please, we're just going to have you sit down for now, only because we know that this is not an act of Kendra wanting to protect her daughter. If she wanted to protect her daughter, she never would have been sending these messages to begin with. So that isn't something that she truly feels. So this gesturing around her hand on her head and grabbing her arm or grabbing her hand is for Kendra. It's not for Lauren. So I don't like that happens there. It feels wrong. So we have no apology from Kendra to Lauren. There's no, I'm so sorry, I don't know how this happened, this all got away from me. Nothing, none of that. Kendra is just sitting there watching the situation unfold, a deer in the headlights. She has nowhere to run and she knows that she has been caught. So all of the body language that we do see from Kendra is an act of self-preservation. She's only trying to protect herself in this moment and find ways to bring comfort to her own inner stress. Now, all of the emotions that we've seen are shallow. We have no apology from her to her daughter. There is zero accountability for the types of explicit messages that she sent. And we also have that severity softening around the idea that she wasn't responsible for the first initial text messages that were sent.
It's time to get it off your shoulders.
I go and ask them when they leave, I'm probably going to jail. Tell me how.
I get let go from it.
Yeah. What about the Texas job? You still have that, or you got terminated from that?
I don't have that.
You don't have that either?
No.
So when did you get let go from that?
A while ago.
Are you fucking telling me the truth, or you're lying?
Honest.
In this next clip, Lauren's father is now in the picture, and he's also been confronted with the information that Kendra is responsible for the messages that have been sent. The parents are divorced, from my understanding. I think they were divorced prior to this documentary taking place and prior to all of this information coming out that Kendra was responsible for this. Nonetheless, Kendra admits here that she has been lying to her ex-husband and Lauren's father about her work. Again, it's so shocking to see that there is zero emotion attached to any of this for Kendra. She openly admits that she was lying about having a career and working for a company. There's not even shame around it. There's no shame at all.
Okay, you need to go somewhere tonight. I don't know where you gotta go, but she's gotta go. You need to call your parents. Have them come to me. Because
420 subway.
this is it.
622.
I can't do this anymore. The other house, this house. No, I know what the truth is. And having her in the middle, this is not good.
And I think it's at this moment where we start to see more recognition from Lauren that her mother might be someone who is potentially dangerous. We see Lauren's body language now pivoted away from her mother. We see the dad in the background in disbelief about these circumstances and that he has been lied to by Kendra. So we see Lauren's body language shifted away from Kendra, and her back is almost turned to her. She's looking at her almost in fear. We see Kendra, again, no empathy, no remorse, no apologies, no shame, just admitting that she had been lying about her career. Truly shocking.
I can't leave her.
Well, there you go.
No. I can't.
This is all theater. This is Kendra stepping into a role of protective mother. This is what she thinks a protective mother should act like. She puts her hands and arms around her daughter Lauren and holds her to her chest. She covers her arm across Lauren's neck and even grabs Lauren to pull her in closer. We see Kendra's hand moving Lauren in closer. If Lauren was to try and pull away, Kendra is holding her there. This is theater. This is an act. it. This is self-preservation, and this is only for Kendra's comfort. This is to enhance her performance of protective mother. So I actually think what we'll do is we're going to do a part 2 to this story because there's so much to unpack here, and I just think that this story and documentary warrants a 2-parter. We're going to leave it here for now, and we're going to come back and do part 2 where we look at Kendra talking about her side of the story and why she did the things that she did. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We're already starting to see some of those psychopathic traits and tendencies come out in Kendra. No apologies, no remorse, no empathy for others, no admission of the severity of her actions, shallow emotion, and feigned emotional responses. So I'm curious what we'll see when Kendra is speaking to the Netflix crew and telling her side of the story. Make sure you subscribe because part 2 will be coming out soon. Bye!